We are coming. It's my fault. I'm sorry. It's my bad. I haven't produced a show in a while. Adios, amigo. Myron Gaines preview. What's going on, chat? Chat. I don't know what button it is. There you are. You're animals, all of you. I don't like any of you. You're not attractive. I'm better looking than all of you. I'm smarter than all of you. I'm just making up for feeling stupid about how bad a job I did getting this show started. 16 minutes late, it is what it is. Plick, you fucked up, John. I sure did. Gentlemen, I am turning your microphones on. You are hot.
All of my sexual fantasies involve handcuffs.
Perfect timing on all my sexual fantasies with the you guys are all hot. But my name allegedly is John Ward. Maybe. We got a bit of a new setup here. A lot of moving parts. Extremely difficult production I'm putting on here right now. No idea what you guys are gonna show up in, but I'll do my best. I think it's Zeb Boykin in the studio.
What's up?
What's going on, Zeb? Also joining us tonight, Chuck Mason. He looks very angry about the start of this show. He's a professional. He was just frowning at us. Angrily. There he is. Sean Simanko in the house from Uncensored America. Kind of in focus. Close enough. And also joining us today is Jack Kentner from KinoFlex. What's going on, gentlemen? Here we all are. I'm realizing I should probably switch your guys' positions so that it looks like we're all sort of looking at each other. What do you think? You want to bear with me for a second? Well, I am doing that on screen in an extremely ghetto way. Sean, which I think you're right there.
Hello, John.
Do you want to fill us in on the event that is taking place tomorrow, April 7th, here at Penn State University? You can see it behind Zeb and Chuck there on the screen.
I'd love to, because I have some insider drama that I'm going to get into as well, which pissing me off. And you've had some experience with this too, so you can
I suppose I know what you're going to get into, but every conservative organization, not just here, but probably all across the country, have your problems too.
And we're not even conservative, we're nonpartisan, but it's like any organization that's not some sort of mainstream leftist or mainstream whatever, like gets the unfair treatment from Penn State.
There we go.
But our organization, Uncensored America, is bringing Myron Gaines Penn State tomorrow, 8 p.m. It's going to be a lot of fun. He's going to talk about immigration because he used to be an ICE agent, so you get to hear his perspective being on the border and seeing all the horrific things that he saw and how he can actually fix immigration. But as we've been trying to do this event, of course, it's been selling tickets like crazy, but a protest was announced on Wednesday, I think is when I posted it. Yeah. And ever since then, every time Penn State hears about protests, they get a little PTSD from our Alex Stein and Gavin McGinnis event, because that caused a little bit of a ruckus when they pulled out the horses, they pulled out the Bearcats, they pulled out the snipers. I'm not joking, they actually did.
I know.
And drones, like they were drones over the building, because there were so many protesters that were making it. They were just trying to kill us, pretty much. Like, there's another way to put it. Like, they literally want us dead. So they were trying to break into the building, and they were, screaming and shouting at police and getting into fights. And so since then, well, Penn State canceled that event. Like, they're always scared whenever we announce a new event. It's like the bat phone rings or something. Like, they start like scrambling, like, to do something about it. But yeah, there's the flyer that the Antifa put up.
No ICE on campus or in our community. Protest against former ICE agent Myron Gaines.
I love how they had to put.
They took your graphic, man, and then they just put an X over it.
Yeah.
That's lazy.
They always do this. They're like, "Oh, we got him now. We're gonna put X on it." Like, they always in the eyes.
Combat and resist violence.
Yeah,
Fighting a little violence with violence there. Well, the event itself, there you go. Monday, April 7th. Doors open at 7 p.m.
Hold on. Scroll back up. It says combat and resist violence.
That's what I was saying.
How are you going to combat violence?
That's why I was laughing at it.
With what, John?
With words and feelings.
They're going to put a flower in the gun of every cop,
No, it's their use of violence is justified in their own mind.
That's right.
And they're fighting the violence that they think is...
Chuck is a student of these head games.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would listen to the professor.
They don't have any problem justifying violence when they think they're, fighting against the genocidal aspect of Western society. So,
what are we going to do about this, gentlemen? Sean, just so you know, I don't know if I ever sent you the video, but at the Milo event, when I walked up on the protesters, the cops had to pull me out of there. I was diving in.
Jamie, can we pull that up?
Oh, yeah. I'll try to get that video going. But basically, the poor bastard cop who didn't want to be there, none of them did. He was like, "Sir, please don't." And I was
And
like,
you're
"What?"
like,
So I said, "Does it because it makes your job easier?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "As long as you're willing to admit that." And then he took my cigarette butt from me. He's like, "I'll take your cigarette before you go in. I'll throw it away for you." So I was like, "All right, fair enough."
Wow. Look at that.
But yeah, it was they're all rich kids and pussies, and so I just like went and dove into the crowd, and it freaked all the cops out because they suddenly were like, "We might have to do something." So, but yeah, they really will do it. Chuck, you're coming to this event too. You'll get your dose of protesters. It'll be a good time. You guys let me get in trouble, by the way. You all enjoy the event.
You want to be the martyr?
I don't. I got nothing to lose anymore. The cops will pull up my priors and just go, "Let them go."
Well, I'm guessing this is going to be my prediction is that they're going to probably do what they did last time, have like 20 people screaming outside.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
racist, no
Yeah,
KKK, no fascist USA.
Yeah,
Always
and
like the same chance.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then you'll
They don't have
probably
any new ones.
and then you'll probably have some infiltrators too, like last
Yes.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they're gonna have some disruptors. So like
They're-
right when Myron takes the stage, you can be like, "Shame on Penn State admin." Like, I'm saying they're gonna say those exact words. They're just NPCs. They don't have. Like ever since, if you look at protests in the '60s, like during the Vietnam War, like they were saying the exact same things.
Well, I have the phone number up. I just realized. Let me take that
Well,
down.
Chuck, why is that?
What's that? It's the same continual. It's the same Marxist train of thought that has entered into the education system, going back to if you ever saw Oppenheimer. Anybody see Oppenheimer?
I saw it. I
Good
did not
dude,
enjoy
great
it,
guy.
but yeah.
Wait,
Patriot.
Hold on a second. One of the take-homes of that was really important that a lot of people missed was when Oppenheimer was meeting with the Marxists at Berkeley, okay, who were doing their best to stay under the radar, but they were that entrenched in Berkeley and in our American universities going back to before World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So that strain has been here for forever, and this is what it looks like. This is the new breed of Marxist.
Yeah, and exactly what you said, Chuck, is why I didn't like it, because they try to whitewash Oppenheimer's history by painting him as a tragic figure when, in fact, he was a communist sympathizer. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, he was, but he was very wise. And if you watched that within the movie, he was very wise in the way he funneled his money to this. It wasn't directly, and he never came out saying that he was in fact
I'm a
Marxist.
social democrat.
Yeah, pretty much. But that train of thought's been here, and it's simply gaining momentum, and that's what you're going to expect if it's allowed to stay in universities and then propagate from one generation to the next, to the next, to the next.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bad host here. Real quick, I don't mean to derail. Hold those thoughts, but chat, what is going on? I was serious about everything I said about you at the beginning. I hate all of you with a passion. What's up, Juan, says Boykin in the chat.
Hey, look, it's me.
How'd you do that? We are probably not live on any other platform. Sorry about that. My X one timed out. I didn't feel like fucking redoing it. But it is up on X, and you should be able to chat from the John Ward channel directly. Any emojis you send should fly across the screen. Let's make sure that's working, and then super chat should be automatically highlighted. But the plan tonight, go for roughly, there we go, it's all working. Go for roughly 2 hours or so if you guys are down, or if anybody wants to bounce out at any point. But tomorrow is the real event itself. So this is kind of our Myron Gaines preview, if I can hit the right buttons. And that is what we're talking about if you're just rolling in and wondering what the hell is going on. So I'm sorry. Did you hold those thoughts? What was happening? What was going on? What were we talking about?
Super chat.
Laughing
$5.
Dog. Feds didn't identify the SLA lady for over 20 years living in Minnesota with her real name. Now you know why. Thank
that?
you, Laughing Dog. I don't know.
What's SLA?
I don't know. I just was trying to hope one of you guys would answer, and I could.
Symbionese Liberation Army.
Is that true?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah,
The
they came
what
from- that
in
was
these?
Symbionese Liberation Army. And
Simeonese?
Symbionese.
That's not. You're making that word up, Chuck.
There was a woman
country?
who.
I
Do
came
you want the
across
history on this or not? I don't have it. All right.
Siamese?
Go Google it, Meister. Come on. All right.
I came across that the other day too. I don't know if there's a B in it. Is there a B in it?
Symbionese or something like that.
Yeah.
Symbionic.
There was Patty Hearst. Okay, she was in theory abducted, and
It's a service level agreement.
I don't think it's that. Type in Patty Hearst.
That's
Laughing dog.
Grok.
Pat, close enough.
All
Oh,
right.
she's all right.
Pat,
Yeah, she was
oh my God!
Symbionese. What I tell you?
That I just didn't believe it was
That's
real.
different than the one that I was coming across. Go
No,
ahead.
so I think it was probably SLA. And they were a terrorist organization working within the United States, and
No.
yeah,
What is that logo?
They
I think it's like a snake with a bunch of heads.
they abducted her,
Hydra.
and she became like Stockholm syndrome and went along with it. So
okay.
and it was one of these things where they did their levels of violence, and there was a shootout, and then with the 3 surviving fugitives were in, but then it dissipated, and so these people just melded off into America, and some of them were never pursued and prosecuted, even though they knew who they ultimately were.
So they were feds. It's like the person, because you seem pretty familiar with the Penn State lore at the Gavin Alex Stein event, the person that pepper sprayed the crowd. They match. So that person maces the crowd. Cops stand there, do nothing. Person leaves. And then a few minutes later, the FBI, which happens to have a headquarters in State College,
Right.
crazy, isn't that? They nab the guy, ID him, and let him go. He committed a crime. He maced a bunch of innocent people, and it's like, oh, that's okay. It's like,
Sounds very Ray Epps.
yeah. It's like this happen. People, I think, like a lot of times when I talk to normies, they don't understand like all this stuff when we talk about it. It just happens all the time. And people think it's, they still think it's some conspiracy.
Yeah.
But then they'll dive into conspiracies like, oh, Elon Musk used Starlink to like rig the 2024 election. I'm like, okay.
That reminds me of a book that Chuck might be familiar with called Days of Rage by Brian Burroughs. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, well, it chronicles a bunch of leftist domestic terrorist organizations like over the course of decades, and how a lot of them have been kind of swept under the rug, but a lot of the people like got away with it, and now they're in university positions and just like
Absolutely
prominent
they are.
institutions.
What was there's a guy, I can see him in my mind.
Yeah, there
he
it
was
is.
a big individual. Well, he was the guy who the Weather Underground. Yeah, he was the guy who was very much a mentor of Barack Obama.
Yeah, he was.
And and also yes. So, but this is 2 hour, and I this is one of the themes I keep coming back, and I talk to John about all the time. Is the problem that we have as Americans, especially conservatives, is we think we can just continue to live as we lived, and somehow this will all take care of itself. We've known about this, the ward Churchills, for the longest time. But rather than take away from our businesses or whatever we're doing, or our vacations or whatever, we just don't put a concerted effort to root these characters out. We've let it go on, and this is the price we're paying.
Yeah, and I think what you're describing, Chuck, is the difference between like a conservative mindset and a libertarian mindset that we're seeing. Like, I feel as though I like libertarian thoughts. I like thought when it comes to a philosophical sense in regards to economics, like free market stuff and all that. But they have like this very principled mindset where they have to do things in a very specific way. And that means not using government power, even if it's to limit government power used by leftists or Democrats, while conservatives are willing to use that.
Conservatives are willing to use it, but they're not willing to put into the massive amount of work it's going to take to get enough, not only government movement, but also community support to support that to get the job done. And that's the problem. It's conservative NPCs.
We've had this rise of individualism in the conservative movement, I guess, since the 60s, where we don't collectivize.
Right.
And that's what it's going to take, because, I mean, especially the academics, they're just simply gatekept by the leftists that have been in there.
Absolutely,
And so you can't get in to even fight to start with.
Well, remember, what you don't want to lose sight of is something called the Long March through the institutions, which when the Marxists realized in the 20s and in the 30s, when they felt that when the Russian Revolution happened, that there was going to be an entire worldwide movement where labor was going to rise up and crush capitalism across the entire globe. When they realized that that was not going to happen, they, Antonio Gramsci right there, and that influences the first line. He was an Italian Marxist who literally came up with a concept of the Long March through the institutions. where he said, we're going to go into the institutions within the world, whatever country.
You're telling me that guy's an academic?
He wasn't necessarily an academic himself.
I'm joking because he looks just like one.
Well, but that was he was the one who kind of championed the idea to say we're going to go inside the institutions, but when we show up, we're not going to come with a hammer and sickle. We're going to look just like everybody else, and we're going to claim that we are, like if you're going to go into an American institution, we're going to come into that institution and say, baseball, hot dogs, apple pie in America. And once you get in there and you get yourself embedded, then that's when you're going to let the Marxism come out. And
Is that called entryism?
And win it from inside.
Well, that's the exact same thing.
Entryism is a political strategy in which an organization or state encourages its members or supporters to join another, usually larger organization in an attempt to expand. So parasitism.
Said radical workers would join established and often conservative trade unions in an attempt to join their leadership.
Yeah.
Their stance is leftward.
Well, I'd like to take that one step further, but to take a step back, even the Russian KGB, Yuri Bezmenov, they said they did the exact same thing.
Yeah,
so when America was at the top of the hill, this is all of these countries, especially the communist countries, they all had the same idea because it works. It's just a long game that they were playing.
They do play the long game, and you can see this right now. And this is one of the things that made me walk away from the from the Republican Party, not the conservative, to become an independent, which is right now, you can't talk to a Republican and tell them that Trump only lasts for 4 years. Mm-hmm. Okay, he hasn't done one thing since he's been in office that everything he's done since he's been in office has been with the stroke of a pen. Which means they couldn't even get the freaking transgender protection of women's sports legislation through the damn Senate.
Yeah, a lot of his agenda is getting blocked by the courts, like for BS reasons. Like they're not even constitutionally sound because, like you're telling me that the commander in chief can't have a say over the military because a local jurisdiction court judge said no. Like that's ridiculous.
Circuit court judge. Well, almost every judge that we have now, I would gauge upwards of 80% are all activists. I would also kind of roll back this idea that we have of infiltrating things, whether that's academic schools or whatever. What do y'all make of the Democrats kind of jumping ship into the Republican Party? Because I see that as essentially the same thing. Or do y'all think there is a genuine change rather than a acceptance?
Zeb, I'm inclined to believe him.
Well, I'd be inclined to believe him, but it isn't like half the Democratic Party has come over. You've had people like Eric Adams in New York City who became an independent so you have people that are leaving the left, but the left is still. If you look at what happened within the House of Representatives and the Senate, they are walking in lockstep with woke.
Yeah, and you also see that with mainstream members of the Democrats saying, yeah, it turns out Biden's aides were lying the entire time about his mental incompetence. Yeah, of course they knew it, but now they're just pretending they only now just found out when they knew all along.
It's like the Fetterman thing. Like everybody will, Fetterman will vote for, what do you vote for? You vote for somebody, I forget, like Kristi Noem. And it's like, wow, bold. And people act like he's like, oh, Fetterman's calling base guys. And it's like, really? You think that guy's now all of a sudden changing his mind on stuff? I mean, I know he went, to the hospital and all that, but I don't think.
Well, he's literally changing his mind.
His mind is
he's growing a third mind on the back of his neck. Well, he's going to have three minds.
He's a little more clear thinking, but he voted down the when transgender.
That's the same. Exactly. Every day they have a big talk, but when it comes to action, which is what actually matters, they always vote in line with the party, every single time. You know, he's virtue signaling the PA because he knows if he goes too he's trying to keep his seat in the future. I mean, it's so obvious, but this is I think the biggest problem with right wing media, which is why one of the reasons I can't stand most of it is that once one of these guys says one thing, they get pulled around every podcast, every show. They're doing with Stephen A. now, you know, who he said some interesting things where I was kind of maybe he's a little more sensible, but
what sport was he talking about when he was saying those interesting things?
What sport?
I laugh that Stephen A. Smith is they're like trying to position him as this politician.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be the next. Like somebody asked him if he wants to be.
I was
president.
like, can you just tell me if the layup went in or not, Stephen A? That's all I need to hear from you. But
Yeah, well, according to Landon, he's not even good in the sports analysis, apparently.
he's
very controversial. It's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
he's a good speaker and he'll do things for money.
Yeah,
so,
but-
No.
that's your ideal political candidate.
Yeah,
right there.
but John Ferriman's like centrism, quote unquote, it makes sense in the context of where he is in the country. PA, which has seen a lot of conservative or right wing gains in recent years, and it also makes sense in like for Eric Adams to come out as independent because like New York City has suffered a lot from illegal immigrants, and
Yeah, is that not just them adapting to their voter base's
Right.
opinions? Like the voter base's opinion changed, so
right.
magically their opinions change. They're just trying to keep getting elected.
Well,
Yeah,
he's
so-
also punished now. It's punished Eric Adams.
Yeah.
Like, he just got this like backstab by his own party.
Yeah,
It's
so-
like screw you guys.
Yeah, so Eric Adams was faced with either like throwing away his political career or calling out the Biden administration and the Democrats for not allowing him to do anything about the illegal migrants.
I mean, I don't know that there are any Republican candidates from sort of mixed districts, but if there are, if any you can think, I imagine they have more centrist positions just for the sake of getting election. I mean, is that?
Like an Arnold Schwarzenegger type
Yeah,
and from
that's a good
California.
example.
Yeah.
I mean, how I don't know. How mad can we really get at these people? That's my opinion of them is so low that it's exactly what I'd expect them to do, and so I'm not like,
Yeah. Well,
why are you fucking laughing, Zeb?
I mean, they're all liars. I mean, you say your opinion is so low. I mean, that's what they are.
Well, that's what. Have I been in this too long that I'm just like, yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah,
Am I
that's what
becoming one of those guys?
black pill John Ward.
Like, yeah, we just nuked Africa, and I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, that's what you do in that situation. Become a monster. Yeah.
Wait, are we allowed to Fed post on there?
All right. I'm sorry. I've been trying to keep everything running smoothly while you guys talk, which is very helpful, by the way. Thank you for all having incredibly good on-air personalities. For a change, Jack. No, I'm kidding. I just want to quickly say you can find Zeb on Twitter there at Zeb Boykin, also on YouTube. Just Zeb Boykin, I believe.
Yeah, it's
But
just
you
Zeb
have a
Boykin on
couple
YouTube.
podcasts going. Chuck Mason, there is his X. I should say X, not Twitter. You can find him on YouTube under the same name. Sean, probably Uncensored America, right? Is where they want
Yeah.
to find you.
Yeah.
You growing your personal brand.
I'm a reply bro now. I'm shamelessly. I'm like going to the replies.
Just go Ian Miles Chong route, man. That's how you get the X button.
Jack,
no.
so sorry, I meant to throw you guys all out there before we got too far into the show. But chat, what's going on? By all means, throw out any questions, any super chats. We don't have a goal today, but maybe you could convince me to like do some smelling salts or something. I don't know. So.
And we will be accepting calls later at some point.
Yeah, I'm glad nobody called, so I hid that number. But I'll pull that number back up here maybe in the second hour.
Yeah.
It's 6:38. We started about 10 minutes late, so
Yeah, but
got another 30 minutes or so.
I guess Sean, what can you tell us about Myron? Because
Yeah, I do want to talk about this.
how'd you
Myron
meet
Gaines.
him? Like, what's the origin story there?
Tell us what is that? Everything about Myron Gaines from start to finish. Explain everything succinctly and in order. Go.
So
First of all, what's Uncensored America for those that don't know?
it's a far right terrorist organization.
I mean, pretty much, right?
That's what people say. But
Uncensoredamerica.us.
yes, thank you. It's a free speech organization on college campuses. So we host debates, speeches, comedy shows with censored and canceled personalities of all different viewpoints. And we're trying to.
That's Steven.
Yeah, it's Stephen the Swastika Banal, as they call him.
Steven.
No, it's Stephen Destiny Banal. Everybody knows.
There you go.
He's been some interesting drama recently too. If you ever want to get into that, but like
Sure
that's
has.
some people like
Crash and burn.
and some people know him from Just a Drama, but like he is a political streamer, and that I thought that was a duck quacking for a second. That when you unscored that,
No, that's just me drinking more scotch.
yeah. But anyway, yeah. So we host people like Destiny, Milo, Gab McGinnis.
Refill anyone?
I'm good.
A lot of judgmental looks right now. That's okay.
Yeah, the most from me. I'm kidding. No, but yeah, so we host people like Alex Stein and John Doyle, Owen Schroyer from Infowars, like all kinds of different people.
We got some good episodes, events.
Yeah, good content. We've put.
When's the
some good
most recent
content
one
out.
you had?
Last one was Mao Yiannopoulos and Martin Shkreli at Penn State. If you scroll to the bottom, it'll be the most recent.
Yeah, it's right here, isn't it?
That was our first one.
Oh.
Yeah, Pray the Gay Away, Penn State.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Very epic. Has a special place in my heart for that one. Milo vs. Destiny, that's our biggest one. It's at 250,000 views.
You got these in reverse chronological order here? What's going on with that?
Because I want people to start at the beginning, John. You know, it's like
The
when you open
story?
a book, you know?
Yeah, it's an ongoing journey.
Right there.
Yeah.
That was Doyle and Destiny.
Yeah. That's when you had
was a great
epic
time.
moments that went
Fun time.
viral.
Maybe I'll try.
Pull a clip up, John.
Yeah, pull it. James,
All right,
pull it
well,
up.
keep talking. It's going to take me a minute.
It's it's on my X too.
It's not that
and on our Instagram. But yeah, so we started this organization because I saw these people getting canceled and censored on big tech platforms, and then also just in real life too. Like these people have had their lives ruined for their opinions or for having edgy jokes and for just not being a type of person just that fits in our world and the rules that they try to set up for us. So. It's a lot of fun. You get to hear a lot of different perspectives. And so this time we're hosting Myron Gaines from the Fresh and Fit podcast, which is a dating podcast that has really blown up over the past few years. Andrew Tate's been on it, Sneeko, Nick Fuentes, Destiny, like all kinds of different people. And so Myron's like one of the hosts of it. He's Fit, and Fresh is his other host. And he's very interesting guy. He's been censored as well. He's been canceled on Instagram, had his account banned. He's trying to do a new one now. But it's just very interesting to hear his perspective, I think, on immigration, feminism, all the things they talk about in Fresh and Fit. And so if people want to get tickets, they can at uncensoredamerica.us. I know everybody here is going to be at the event. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I'll touch briefly, too, on the drama surrounding it while we're on this subject, because Penn State is now in my crosshairs, metaphorically, and because what they've done this to us for the past couple of years, where whenever we host an event that was somebody that's a little controversial, a little outside the norm, they take the venue that we picked, that we got approved to use, and they say, no, you can't host it there because they always list whatever reasons they come up with.
People are studying. That was my favorite one.
Really? People are studying. Wow. It's a college campus. I bet that doesn't happen freaking anywhere. Their reasons they give us are usually, because the venue we picked has better ingress, egress. No, it doesn't. Or we don't want to disrupt other activities that may be happening in the building. That's your problem, not mine. And also, that happens all the time for all kinds of other things. So with this one, they might be pushing us into another venue once again. It's another crappy venue. Normally it's in the Bryce Jordan Center basement, which is, for anybody that's not on campus knows, it's like literally on the edge of campus. Penn State's a massive campus. You know, it's not like a block away. It's like a 10-minute walk.
They make it a
if you're
problem.
speed walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they throw us in the basement there, and it's such like unfair treatment because they've done it to you. They've done it with YAF. They've done it with Turning Point. But Dylan Mulvaney comes to campus, Alumni Hall, the student union building, center of campus, no problem.
One of the most accessible places on campus, by the way.
Yeah, it's like where everybody's at. It's where all the students are at. But Dylan Mulvaney can speak in the student union building. David Hogg can speak in the student union building. Tim Kaine, when he was running for freaking vice president. I mean, can you name more prominent, controversial people? They all got to speak in the student union building. But when we bring Myron Gaines from Fresh and Fit, or when we bring Milo Yiannopoulos, or when we try to bring Martin Shkreli, that's too much. Got to push you guys off campus. You can't do it. You can't use that. It's totally unfair. And so I've been talking to some people, and I think we're gonna have some. Some action coming up very soon.
Nice.
Well, Penn State's not the only one that y'all have had trouble with, is it?
Oh no! Everywhere we go is trouble. At University of South Carolina, which you were at. Were you at the roast?
I was.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, because I remember you at the Schroyer debate too. We hosted. I'll give the brief synopsis and then we'll play the clip. But we hosted this roast of Kamala Harris during the election called the roast of Kamala Harris, and really pissed them off.
Yeah.
They can't take a sex joke, which is really funny because they're the first people to make like, oh, you silly little, you doing that in bed. Like they do that, but like we make a
literally
little
be
joke.
juggling flaming dildos together, and then you come in and you say a sex joke, and they're like, oh! What?
Yeah, but
That's inappropriate.
yeah, but that's the most mainstream you guys have gone because Biden's press secretary denounced you guys, right?
Yes, that was the
Oh,
funniest
you've been
part.
denounced.
Yeah. Oh no. What do we do? Yeah, but it had Milo and Gavin in the event, and Anthony Cumia came along too. So it blew up to this big thing. But yeah, the White House press secretary at the time, Karine Jean Lapierre, she got asked about. So she actually talked about it and gave some like canned response. But basically, because of all this, the student senate voted to not fund the event. They defunded us, which is illegal. They can't do it. There was no valid reason to, so we sued them. And they quickly, behind closed doors, were like, guys, we got to vote to fund them now. Or like, we're freaking screwed. So now they're like, oh, we'll give you the money. I still haven't gotten it. So... yeah, that's what happens whenever we come on campus. And people are listening are probably like, why does this matter? It's college campus. Well, it matters because these insane people that do this to us, that do this to you, that do this to all of us, they go out and they work in companies. They go out and work in Fortune 500 companies where they have actual power, where they have actual rule over people's lives. They're the ones that make that put the pride stuff in Target. They're the ones that run for Senate and start pushing for women in men's sports. Like, this is what these people do. You know, they start off as these like angry nerds in college, like when Chad Thundercock like shoved them in a locker in high school, and then they come into college and they're like, ah, and they're like getting all angry that some like, whatever's happening that they don't like. But then they go off into the real world and then they do these things to everybody else. So that's why this is all important.
It is, absolutely is. And that was the whole paradigm that we had talked about from beginning to end that they want to see replicate from year to year to year. Mm-hmm. From generation to generation.
Sometimes it's okay to strike back at them.
Like a patriot named John Ward. Play the clip.
I was happy to have met Sean. Sean was kind enough to invite me to this debate, and I figured I'd try to take a small strike back. So this was from Destiny, whose real name is Steven.
Wait, am I allowed to answer part of the question?
No.
First of all,
My name is John, and I have a question for Steven. It's the really only question that should be asked at an event like this, and this is gonna seem like a troll, but it's not. I just can't believe that it's true, so correct me if it's not, that you sat in a room or a corner of a room, very much like the one you're sitting in now, and just watched many other men plow the ever-living fuck out of your wife. Is that true? Is that really true?
We want to keep it.
Yes, it is indeed true.
Chuck,
by the
have
way.
you seen that before?
I haven't. But
That's going to be me tomorrow, Chuck. You'll see
no
me
wonder
getting
how
thrown out.
no wonder you blow up on
Yeah.
me.
That clip went everywhere.
Well, you need to know something. Well, you need to know something about Myron first. I don't think he's a truck, right?
No, I
Byron?
Yeah.
Oh, hell no. He's the...
I don't know how I'm going to... I don't know if Sean wants me to antagonize him or what.
I
But
want you to antagonize the antagonizers.
I should, I should wait for like one or two of them to do their little coordinated protest, but then like all jump in.
Yeah, no fascism, okay.
Fascism, but like, yeah.
I want to yell.
John,
too.
you want to go out to bars tonight and go recruiting for tomorrow?
Get some frat boys. Yeah.
I mean,
Call Landon up, tell him to get some of his football buddies out here tomorrow.
oh, that would be fun.
Go viral on the internet.
You think they've ever been out protested?
Who?
Yeah, at the Milo thing when I won on 100 them and they all had to take a step
In the
back.
Trump rally.
Yeah. I mean, I saw local
I
protesters.
freaked out them and the cops, and nobody wanted to touch me. They're like, "What the fuck? This isn't what's supposed to
Yeah,
happen."
last week for the Trans Day of Visibility, I saw them protesting, like demanding kids be given HRT, like on demand.
They're all fundamentally pussies.
Insane.
Yeah, I'd be down. You want to just go fucking throw some elbows with them? I mean, you'll have to stay in jail here for a few.
I mean, I'm
days.
not going to premeditate it if that's what you
Yeah, obviously we're not gonna do any of that.
In Minecraft.
Courtroom. Dear juror number 12 and 13, this was not premeditated. Just thinking ahead.
I will unironically, though, put the Q&A mic just at the front row where you might be sitting. And so if, you really want to let your voice be heard,
Who's moderating? Is there anyone going to be there to stop me this time?
No,
Wow.
you can free will.
I do,
It's a free speech event, John. No, but seriously, you like these people are probably going to disrupt, and so if you want to go at it, Do whatever you want.
All right. I haven't spent a night in jail in a long time, so let's do it.
Yeah, but again, like getting to Myron,
Gotta build some bridges with these local cops.
how did you meet?
Gotta up your numbers.
How did you meet Myron in the first place? Like, did he notice you guys after the whole
Good question,
controversy
Jack.
with
Thank
the
you
White
for being
House?
Serious. The kind of questions we should.
No serious questions here, Jack. I will not answer that. No, I was at our allies, Turning Point USA, our competitive allies.
There you go.
At TPUSA, the America Fest that they have in Arizona every year, where they have Charlie Kirk come on stage and a million other people speak. Big networking conservative event for young people. And so we had a booth there, and we were just talking. Everybody came by, and I look up. I'm like half asleep after being at James O'Keefe's after party till like 2 a.m. And I'm like, freshman. It's Myron Gaines. Okay, we got to talk to him. I would love to host him. So, yeah, he came by our table, talked to us. He was very loving in what we do. And it sounds like nobody else will invite him because he's a little too edgy, a little too controversial. And that's where we come in. That's. I was like, okay, you're going to be right at home here. So, yeah, we met him. He's a cool guy. Really like him.
Okay, I look forward to seeing him tomorrow.
Yeah.
I appreciate how you. I thought I have. Oh yeah, how you got your little graphic here. Let me get the right camera. The odds of getting the right camera are very low right now. This one? Yeah, Adios Amigo with the gun. Oh, you saw the part of the set you're not supposed to see. There we go. It's finished all the way to the ceiling. Didn't they give you shit about the gun or something, or was that?
I thought they would. So what happened when we put the
school?
Yeah, so when we were putting up the posters in the hub, which is our student union building, there are these big poster displays that fit movie poster size posters. And they held our poster for review for like 2 days, and then they put it up. I guess they were worried about the gun or what. But I was like, they put movie posters up for like John Wick. That's fine, but this isn't. So I was like...
It's all just double standards and shit.
You should have just put a graphic on there that said painted water gun. With
Yeah, I should put the water gun emoji on there. Yeah. Yeah, but
A white rectangle that says gun.
yeah, insert gun here. But it's like, yeah, they do every little thing to slow you down. It's just so frustrating, but it's still going to be fun tomorrow no matter
It's
what
honestly
happens.
like, since I've gotten to know you, at even what you initially said when we first met, I was like, there's no way you get fucked with like that badly. And nope, you
Oh,
do.
no. And
Probably
trust
worse
me,
than I thought.
I'm the first person that will tell you like that this whole idea that like conservative speakers are censored on campus is like kind of a myth, because a lot of times when it happens, it's because the students just are taken advantage of by the administration, where they miss a deadline for paperwork, or they don't cross this T or dot this I, and they use that to get them. So it's like,
You got to be perfect to get through. basically.
yeah, you really have to be perfect, or like a lot of times like the students end up canceling because they cave to pressure. And so they'll say like the left cancel them. And it's like, that's kind of true, but it's like you still pulled the plug. But like in our case, like the one time we were canceled, Penn State pulled the plug and we had no say in it. Like the cop came and said the event shut down because of violence, escalating violence. You know that was BS too, because they could have handled it. But,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Fun dead space here. Who's hosting
All
this
right,
fucking
campus
program?
protest. What's next? Toxic and true masculinity.
Well, sort of on point, yeah. With something centered, I guess Myron Gaines talks about this to some degree, but this whole joke of what is toxic versus true masculinity. I know you were about to say anyway, Zeb. I don't know.
Go
why.
ahead.
I just
It's
felt,
your.
felt the
it's your
need to put like
studio.
a little like
It's your-
fucking introduction there to what you're about to say.
That's you. Go for it.
It's because I just sat there and didn't do anything like I was supposed to. What is it you would like to say, sir?
I got nothing to say. I mean,
All right, then we're moving on.
I think it's
Nothing
I
crazy.
think it's a nice transition to talk about true masculinity, because there is a story, like a current ongoing story of like what is the appropriate response to loss, because as you guys may know, there was a high school like star athlete football player who was fatally stabbed by like I don't even know if he's I don't even know if he attended the school, but he fatally stabbed him and he died in his twin brother's arms. And
Metcalf.
and he's just a
and people
modern
are-
day Rosa Parks. Get over it.
No, but you joke, Zeb, but people are actually like arguing that was the case.
No, it wasn't a
Like
joke.
he has like $90,000 for his GoFundMe page, the murderer at this point. Right.
Well, all of Black Twitter is defending him. Mm-hmm. It's insane.
Well,
to
you
watch.
guys remember O.J. Simpson? No?
Yeah.
I
John,
Do you
how
guys
old
rem-
do you think we are?
Maybe you don't.
But they weren't even. But they weren't even saying. But even back then, they weren't even saying that his victims were white supremacists or anything. They just said, "Oh, there's no proof he did it."
Yeah, it's
They said
entering
the
a
jury
weird.
was racist. They said the cops were racist. You know.
Well, so I was living in LA at the time. I was going to seminary. I was going to grad school at that point in time. The thing you have to remember about the OJ trial, it was coming off of the Rodney King issue and then the verdict and the riots that happened.
Yeah.
And where I was going to seminary at Fuller Seminary, and people were shot and killed like a block away from the seminary. So the entire city was very cognizant of how they were going to handle this, and that they didn't want a repeat of what happened during with Rodney King. So there and that looked pretty. I mean, the Rodney King beating was pretty horrific. That was already a tinderbox running through, and they did not want to mishandle what they were going to mishandle with OJ.
Right.
So
Yeah. So obviously the response to the murderer by some people has been terrible. Like, he's obviously a murderer. He's obviously a monster. But another form of debate has occurred in our sphere, like in the conservative sphere, over the response of the father, because he said that in an interview that he already forgives the murderer. And you have
Which, just quickly, maybe in and of itself isn't weird. It's that he did it like
12 hours after.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just he was ready to go.
Yeah, and you have some like conservative, like quote unquote conservative powerhouses from the National Review, such as David French, saying that this is how every single Christian should respond. And I'm just wondering, like,
Murder me. I love it.
That right there. Now, you're talking to somebody who has a master's of divinity degree from Fuller Seminary. That right there is one of the worst Christian myths that runs through the church.
I agree. I completely agree.
And
It came from David French, so we can start there.
But see, this is what the problem, that when you talk about, this is kind of tangential, but it's part of the problem. When you talk about masculinity, the church itself, particularly the evangelical church and or the non-denom world that has so much sway right now, that has sway right now. They have these myths that are running through them that are they're not biblical and they're not helpful. One of those is they're very feminized at this point, and men have been leaving the church in droves.
Right.
But it's just one of those things. And but again, that what they're saying is. You're free. We can dive into that at some other point. But
right.
This approach, don't get me started on several of these.
Yeah, my perception.
You killed my son, and I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, my whole perception of the Christian form of forgiveness would be the person who committed a wrong is genuinely. Like wanting redemption for what they did and is looking to make amends. It's not, just turn a blind eye to the negative action.
So I'm going to expound upon this a little bit, and you can see where this goes in terms of the challenge that we have in America today, okay? Is that we live in this world where everybody has individual perspectives. You can't judge. There's no right or there's no wrong. What should happen within the church, okay, and is that even if you take a look biblically, and for some individual that is coming to God and repenting and wants to enter into a relationship with Christ, your repentance is required before God forgives you, period. So if you would come to any pastor who would say you have to forgive somebody, there's this concept that people get universal absolution for anything that they do. Like, I have to forgive you, okay? And so you read like the Lord's Prayer, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. But if we're going to forgive those who trespass against us, we use God's forgiveness as the guide for that. And once again, there is no forgiveness from God until you have true repentance. And true repentance isn't like, hey, dude, I'm sorry. It's marked. Now, within the church, in the New Testament and the Old Testament, the way that this should happen is if you have, and it's what Jesus says, and Paul says the same thing. Jesus says, look, if your brother has something against you, go and say something to him. And if he repents, great. If he doesn't, go back and take 2 or 3 witnesses. If he still doesn't repent, bring him before the church. And if the church doesn't believe, if he doesn't repent before the church, then you kick him out, which was anathematized. So where's the universal absolution in that? And there isn't. So people are thinking that you have to be careful and not hold bitterness, and you have to be able to forgive people when there is true repentance. That having been said, the church should be holding people accountable for an infinite amount of shit that's happening within people, but we don't. So you have men who are being at least influenced by the church to say, we don't stand for anything any longer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's right. When you offer a blanket forgiveness without an admission of guilt in the first place, much less and ask for the repentance, it's an effeminization of the thing itself. And so forgiveness requires like a handshake. You can't shake your own hand. You can't have a handshake.
You can't.
Right.
I mean, I guess I could, but I can't shake your hand unless you stick your hand out to shake it with me.
Right.
So I can stand here forever and offer that forgiveness, but until it's taken, there is no forgiveness to be had.
It's a good man. All right.
Let me add, when you're done, I have
one more. And so the objection that is always raised is, well, when Jesus was on the cross, he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." And so Jesus didn't forgive them. He asked the Father, he pled to the Father to forgive them. And so that takes on another meaning, but that is to say that even Jesus didn't blanket forgive in the moment.
But remember what he says, forgive them, why? Because they know not what they do. And there's a big differentiation within the Old Testament and the New Testament between a person's ignorance. And he even said this, he says this to the Pharisees. The Pharisees come to him and they go, hey man, you're bad because we know the law. And what Jesus says to them is, you don't know anything you're talking about. If you told me that you did not have any knowledge, you would have no guilt. But since you say that you have knowledge, your guilt stands. So for individuals who truly are, and even in the Old Testament law, if somebody accidentally killed somebody or accidentally transgressed the law, they were not held to the same level of account as somebody who willfully knew what they were doing. But I want to add this to you and about the whole concept of masculinity, which is involved with that tremendously from what we understand is freaking accountability. Take stand. So here's the issue. True, when you talk about forgiveness within the New Testament, when Jesus is talking about forgiveness, that requires repentance. The model for repentance is Zacchaeus, was the tax collector who was in the tree, who was watching when Jesus was coming by. Okay, and Jesus calls to him. So what does Zacchaeus do? He's the tax collector. So the way the tax collectors worked in those days is they collected tax, but then they would lean on everybody and collect more. So then they would collect more than they needed, which was extortion, even though they were able to get paid from collecting the tax. So they would extort and doing that. When Zacchaeus has his eyes opened, Zacchaeus provides restitution. He says, I will repay those I have defrauded plus interest. True repentance in a biblical model means not only do you recognize that you have done something, but you will work to make restitution where possible. And that's the level of accountability that we need to be operating in under.
Well, this is the same thing that Paul did when he went from Saul to Paul. He killed Christians, and then he turned around and he essentially wrote the entire New Testament.
Right.
So
right. And that's what true repentance should look like. And so outside of that true repentance, there is no forgiveness. And when you give that blanket absolution, what you're telling the world is you really don't have any responsibility for what you've done.
Right.
It's kind of something I've been noticing this week since the Minecraft movie came out. Trust me, I'm going somewhere with this.
I'm with you.
So if you've been seeing in social media, a lot of kids are going to the Minecraft movie and they're like screaming at the screen. They're throwing trash.
It's funny because we were just talking about this before you even showed up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, you guys were ahead of the curve. But it's like my generation is extremely nihilistic, lacking in accountability, because a lot of their parents, like these millennial Gen X parents, just let their kids literally run around, do anything. And when you have a society without accountability, you just get chaos. You get all this nonsense that we see right now with my generation. But it's like I see this stuff and I'm thinking, like, my generation has no God in their life. They're, like in the
no father
spiritual
in their
sense,
life,
no father in their life. and they're being raised by single moms, and you're like, oh, this is going to work out fine. It's like, obviously not. And even when they do have parents, like their parents are just useless. They just stand there and like let their kids run terror. And I'm like, I just see this and I think like this is everything that's sort of culminated in sort of like a anti-Christian America that we live in.
Yeah.
Is kind of coming to head with my generation.
Well, not to jump in, but Chuck, I think it was you that said this that was actually quite interesting, but that the biggest problems with kids are the ones who grow up without a father, specifically the father, and single fathers tend to raise kids that are on par with kids raised in two-parent households. Is that true?
Okay, so I'll forward this to you guys if you're interested. I just watched a podcast on masculinity. I don't know if you know who Scott Galloway is.
I've heard that name.
He's a leftist. He's within the left. The left is finally saying this. We've known the statistics for the longest time, and the left is saying that is finally coming to terms with the crisis of masculinity in America. To what you were saying is, for the longest time, we've known that the kids were raised in single-family homes. They're like 7, 8, 9 times more likely to end up with all the significantly negative factors. But as they began to parse this out over years, they began to take a look at the statistics more focused. And you're exactly right. The kids that are raised not only in a single father home, but if you have a significant father figure within a neighborhood, okay, and they've known this, if you have significant father figures, male role models that kids can interact with, young boys and girls can interact with, those kids do better than single mother homes. But yes, the kids raised in single father homes have outcomes that are on par with two families.
That's wild.
With two parents.
Yeah, and not to get all artsy fartsy.
What are these moms doing, Jack?
Not to get all artsy fartsy on you,
Being
Sean,
moms.
but there's a 1970 social experiment done by a Serbian artist called Rhythm Zero, and if you're not familiar with that, she sat down and just for 6 hours and did nothing, but she allowed the audience to do whatever they wanted with her, with whatever tools were on the table. Like they were allowed to cut her up, they were allowed to move her, do whatever they want.
Abramovich us?
Huh?
You dropped this satanic cunt on us?
Well, no, there's a point to this. So there was also a gun.
Sure.
There was also a gun on the table with one bullet, and somebody was about to shoot her, but other people were saying no, that's too far. But like they messed her up. Like they cut her, they sexually assaulted her, all this stuff.
This is real.
And yeah,
this like a 4chan meme?
This happened
in the 70s.
This is how she got famous.
Yeah,
This is what made her famous.
Yeah, and so once the 6 hours were up, like she got up and then approached the crowd, and they all fled. And that's what I think is the underlying like lesson here. Without appropriate accountability, people a lot of people will naturally just become chaotic. And that's what's happening with these lack of parental figures in their household.
Well, and it's like I grew up. Okay, I hate to admit this. I used to be an atheist. I know it's awful.
I think a lot of people were.
What?
Yeah, listen, when you grow up in this gay country, it's gonna happen.
You lose your faith sometimes. Yeah, I'm with you.
What was that?
I said you lose your faith sometimes.
I didn't have one.
Well, were you
Never
raised
did, yeah,
atheist?
that's even-
Like, were your parents Christian or?
No.
Did you go to atheist church growing up?
Oh gosh. Oh, the public school system. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just didn't have it in my life at all, and like I wasn't raised, and which is fine, I guess, kind of, sort of. But as I've gotten older, like over the past few years, I've been exploring Christianity. Now I'm converting to Catholicism on Easter.
Wrong.
But are you an ortho bro?
You. Congratulations.
Thank you.
At least you're closer, I guess.
I love Christian infighting, by the way. I could do this whole podcast up. But the funny thing that I've learned through it.
That's some more scotch.
Yeah, yeah. The funny thing that I always used to believe was that, we all know what's right and wrong. We don't need God for that. We don't need the Bible. And it's like, well, we kind of do.
Maybe we do.
So
We got rid of it. Look what happened.
I mean, I would say no, but go ahead, Chuck. I'll let you take it.
I decided that I'm going to finish the book my second book, and the title is Freedom versus Equity: America's Second Civil War. the fight for civilization in a post-Christian America.
That's too many titles.
No. And
I'm just putting my foot down right now.
well,
You got to
maybe
pick
the,
two
maybe
of those.
The publisher will agree with you.
I'll
Make
cut
it a
it short.
subtitle.
But it's freedom versus equity. It just says America's Second Civil War. The subtitle is, like I said, the fight for civilization.
Does it say authored by Chuck Mason, a human being, white male, from
White
Central
supremacist.
Pennsylvania?
Yeah, there we go. Right,
How-
redneck white supremacist living in the
You
country.
got to get to page 100 before the subtitles.
So I
there?
am. So it's going to answer. It's going to delve into all these questions, and from a very philosophical standpoint.
right.
Yeah. Well, quick question: Are you familiar with The Age of Entitlement by Christopher Caldwell? Have you read that book?
I've heard of it. I've heard about.
I
it.
think that would help you, like, with your book, like, significantly.
You
'cause he has
speaking
lot
as
of-
a highly published and read author, Jack?
No, I like it.
Yeah,
that's
bookworm
a-
over here.
No, but that's a highly cited book for like the modern
Yeah,
philosophy
two
or something
books this
from.
whole podcast. That's got to be a record.
Is it bad that I've read both of them? Well, the Age of Entitlement is the essential premise is opening up the underlying laws and statistics and everything that have kind of brought us into this position that we are in as a country since what the 40s, 50s, but it goes heavy into the 60s and 70s, and yeah, good call out. The Age of Entitlement. If you haven't read it, it's definitely up there if you just want information.
Joking aside, Chuck, I kind of talked over you. You're just working on that book, or it's finished and coming out sometime, or
Well, it's about. I would say it's probably about halfway written, and I can finish it. I decided to make finishing it a priority.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
have you found?
Are you in for natural law? Is that what that is?
What's that?
What's the premise of the book?
Well, the premise of the book is that today the battle that we have in America, it's whether we're going to live as in freedom with individual self-determination in the Judeo-Christian worldview, or whether it's going to be equity, collectivism, and Marxism. That's the difference. There's a fundamental worldview difference between the left and the right in America. Okay, and all of those have when you talk
That's a
about
lot to unpack. But go ahead. Yeah.
What's that?
I said that's a lot to unpack.
it's,
That's why you're writing a book about it, isn't it?
Well, but wait a minute.
Really quick, Circle Jerk 3CC. The current state of leftism is a spitting image of Wimplo from the movie Kung Pao.
Good movie.
John knows. Find us a clip, brother. All right, I'll try to pick that clip up. Go ahead, Chuck.
But here's my point in this, and I can document this the whole way through the book. What we ended up doing was we ignored the intellectual foundations of our country for over about 100 years, and there has been intellectual development that's challenged the fundamental ideas of America. As conservatives, we've ignored it. We were like, hey, you've got lunatics in our universities, big deal. Nothing could overturn America. But there's been almost a century of intellectual development. So there is a lot to unpack. And you can't move forward any longer acting like that's not relevant. It is a lot for people. But ideas don't give a fuck about whether you care about them or not. If you think I'm kidding, ask.
That was a way harder version of Facts Don't Care About Your Feelings.
You're right. You wanna
Yeah,
know
no,
how
I like
bad it
yours
is?
better. That was
You know,
good.
the Ukrainian kulaks ate their children when they had run out of food. Okay, the people under Mao, the Chinese peasants under Mao, were forced to beat their children to death, who gleaned extra grains of rice because they were starving, which created economic inequalities. Okay, I can go on down through from Cambodia on and on and on, or even the Third Reich for that matter.
Yeah.
So once these ideas get into your society, then they're going to do whatever they're going to do, regardless of whether people know or not.
Yeah, so Chuck, it sounds as though like your main contention with leftism is their desire to do away with natural hierarchies. When the entire like premise of freedom is that it's going to allow for natural hierarchies, because if you're free to do something, there are people who are going to make the right decisions and make the wrong decisions.
Well,
Because hierarchies are natural.
Well, okay, but wait a minute. Okay, so to your point, Zeb, what came through Rousseau and collectivism says that hierarchies are genocide. What came through Locke and came through Adam Smith says that hierarchies are an unfortunate but necessary. They're a necessary consequence of living as an individual, determining their own state, and then determining your fate based upon merit.
Right.
Okay, and Rousseau went to Marx, and here we are today, and that's the battle here. So you and I would say yes about that, but the other side is like, hell no, these are freaking genocide.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Stop your genociding of me.
Yeah, well,
I don't know if the left really wants to get rid of hierarchy. I think they just don't want.
They just want to be on the top of it.
Yeah,
and then pretend it's not there.
Hierarchy when they have it.
They want to flatten the hierarchy into a plane and simply. They don't want a pyramid.
Well,
they
I
just
mean,
want a level and then a piece at top.
There's nothing unnatural when you're at the fucking bottom of the pyramid of saying hierarchies suck. I mean, I get where those people are coming from.
Yeah.
You have nothing to gain from the system.
Well, hierarchies suck if you suck.
It's more complicated than that.
Or if you have, okay, I do think there's an exception to that, Zeb, which is if you don't have an interest in hierarchies, if you're an autistic fuck like I am. Like if you could just go wander through the fields of daisies by yourself and count the petals like an autistic person for your whole life and be happy.
Well, that's what happens with higher IQ individuals. I'm talking like one.
That's what I'm saying. The hierarchy fucks over the idiots, as it probably
they
should.
want to leave society because they don't want to deal with retards.
You see over large timescales that all the interesting people tend to not really give a fuck about.
That's why
hierarchy.
Christopher Langan is in wherever he is, Farmville, West Virginia.
Even like maybe Stalin is an evil Christopher Langan, but like he was not a born high class, and he's just like, I'm killing my way to the top. Fuck it.
Well, but Stalin was a collectivist. He was a Marxist. He believed in
his words were, but he ended up on top of all of it.
Well, he did, but there's a guy named Stephen Kotkin. Okay, I don't know if you ever heard of his name. He is the definitive. He's writing a 3-part series on Stalin. He has read more of the Soviet archives than any other living human being. Okay, from the West, and when. The guy who does Uncommon Knowledge, Peter Robinson.
This guy?
Right. Stephen Kotkin. Okay. When Peter Robinson interviewed him and said, what was happening there? They said, you've read the archives. What were they thinking? And he said they were communists. I mean, they were Marxists. They believed that comprehensive equality would save the world and that they were willing to exterminate anybody that stood in the way. So, yeah, I mean, this is real stuff. And when today they use the term equity. Equity. And this is part of the quote of the book that I'm writing. When you looked at the Biden White House, all right, the whitehouse.gov website, it said specifically, I've got the language in a quote. It said, we are going to transform the U.S. government to achieve equity within its power across every aspect of society that it can touch, that it can influence. So, I mean, this is very real stuff. Well,
we know what happens when that happens because some of the Northern European countries have done that. I mean, they've forcibly gone towards an egalitarian society, and instead of bridging those gaps, supposedly they've lengthened. It's become more of a gap than it was prior when people had a choice.
Circle jerk.
Stalin killed 50 plus million people, quote unquote, inspirational. Mao killed 50 plus million people, inspirational. Hitler.
Well, but wait a minute. I want to talk to
They
this
have a
right
high
here.
score.
Okay, this is why this.
Who just said high
what
score?
Circle Jerk just said. Okay. All right. So, could anybody think that they could really rehabilitate any part of anything out of Nazi Germany?
Is that a discussion we want to have right now?
No, I mean, I put that as a question. Like today, in contemporary society, you couldn't go in and go, well,
here's
Nazi ideology. Well, just let me finish this. Nazi ideology really wasn't bad. It was because Hitler was a dictator.
Chuck, you really cut Zeb off there like a Nazi would have.
But
well, if you want to
did not see that coming.
But people are rehabilitating Marxism and
it's just
Hitler
a waste
was
of time.
child's play.
Basically, you're saying like
What's that?
there's no. You're saying it's a waste of time to try to rehabilitate a Marxist.
No, what I'm saying is just the
opposite.
I could have got this out if I hadn't been.
I know we're doing this on purpose. Chuck, this
I'll
is how
finish with this.
Ciderhaus goes.
Right here, listen. What I'm saying is, you couldn't touch anything from Nazi Germany. You couldn't even go through and say, yeah, the Nazis were bad, but guess what? There's a lot of good we have in America thanks to them. Like our.
I mean, you can say that though. Like just like jet propulsion.
We don't listen.
You wouldn't.
We don't do it.
Yeah, he would.
But listen to me. and it's because of the liquidation of 6 million Jews. But somehow we get to rehabilitate Marxism when it liquided over 100 million people.
Well, I think that's what he's kind of saying, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I would
that's
tell you,
exactly
I would tell
the
you to
stuff
take a
I'm
deep
saying.
breath real quick and hold it, because it's coming. We're tired of this Weimar, and there is a faction that is coming up of, you can call them Nazi or National Socialist if you want to, but it's going to be a version that was able to combat Weimar Germany, because that's the inevitability of it.
Feels like Dad just slapped Mom at the dinner table right now.
It's the only provable ideology that can actually fix the thing that is wrong with America.
What? Nazism?
Fourth Reich, Chuck, get on board.
What libertarian or conservative or any other ideology would have fixed Weimar Germany?
But see, I didn't even know where you're going with that. That's not even logic.
This is a generational thing Chuck, I think Chuck has trouble believing that what I'll say the younger generation is. I do agree they're looking for answers, and I think that's a good thing, because I think the existing churches and media and all that stuff, like, they're rejecting overusing marijuana, and they've rejected alcohol almost completely. Like, those are good.
It's more because we're too autistic and we don't go outside.
Fair enough, I guess.
Well, you guys don't. You
I
guys
think
don't
that's
leave
it.
the house.
It's a lack of
Well, I'll
socialization.
take credit for it whether you want to or not, but especially a lack of alcohol.
We got vape pens everywhere, John. What are you talking about?
I'll say
Some
my
people,
generation
yes, but I think,
screwed
like,
up.
when I was 20, if somebody in their 30s or 40s would have been like, "Hey, weed is bad for you," I would have, like, smoked twice as much, just because I was an immature asshole. But now I think you talk to 20-year-olds, even if they smoke, you'd be like, that ain't what you want to be doing for the rest of your life. They'll agree.
Right.
They'll be like, yeah, I agree. I'm looking for something. I'm just coping with this. It's not good for me. So what is good for you? I don't know. I haven't fucking found it yet. I've tried to go to different churches. I've tried different things, all of that. And so maybe the appeal, and I don't think there's some giant wave of young kids turning to the Fourth Reich. I'm joking aside. I don't really see that happening, but fighting it, like Zeb saying, Weimar Germany, pushing transgenderism, pushing degeneracy in Germany. That maybe it wasn't only this, Chuck. I mean, I would agree with that, but there was some genuine things happening that pushed, we'll call them conservative or right wing or something. But people were just like, I'm fucking tired of this, to the point where Hitler got power. And so, I mean, that did happen, and I think it's interesting to think about why. And I think we are much closer to that than we are anything else right now. What people usually say is we're heading towards the rise of the next Caesar. Not so much Hitler, but
part
Caesar.
of the premise of the book is that we are so ideologically divided right now. Where I will in part agree with Zeb is that I don't see us returning under our. We're not gonna be.
Thank you, Dr.
The
Tatman.
left
Exactly.
has shown post-election that they're doubling down. The literal left, which is about 40% of America, are doubling down
Yeah,
on this.
they're not going to meet us in the middle. Never going to happen. Like that, Weimar problems require a
We're not going to have
Weimar
a
solution.
kumbaya move forward. So
I think that's what young men are gravitating to. Is
Sure.
just like there's some sort of battle coming, and part of them are starting to hope for it. They're like, I'm down for this.
As somebody who works with a lot of young people that are like the newer Zoomers, but kind of like they're like in their high school, college age, what I've been noticing, because when I saw Andrew Tate come into everywhere,
His popular, great example.
he's insanely popular for this. Like in 2022, he just blew. Like everywhere I went, I couldn't escape this guy, and I'm like, who is he? What is he? I look into him, I watch stuff he's saying, and I'm in like a weird position where like as much as I agree with the sort of pro masculinity messaging, like he's not the package I would pick, like because he's
Right.
not Christian, he's not advocating for like getting like married, having kids, all these like really Christian traditional things. But
I would say that's part of the disagreement I have with Myron too. I mean, just the entire red pill movement across the board is they're like populists. They are able to recognize the issues.
yes, they do.
And they are able to enrage the younger male audience.
Yeah.
But there are no real solutions to be had. The solution they have is they offer, hey, make money.
Yeah, and
or hey, be successful. But it's
a good
so
point.
broad and there's no real purpose in it. And so it's like you. I mean, you were atheist. Why are you going towards Catholicism?
And that's going on what he's saying, which is that I think a lot of people my age are trying to find answers, trying to find meaning in a world that's chaotic, that's
Right.
messy, it's ugly. But with Andrew Tate's rise, it like really baffled me because I'm like, why is this guy so big?
It is weird.
At first it was weird, but then the more I looked into it, the more I talked to young people, the more it just makes total complete sense, which is that there is no strong male role model in America. There just really isn't. Trump is like the closest thing.
He's old now.
But he's older, yeah. And Tate is like coming in like a flamethrower, this fiery, strong, like in his presence. Like he's like
also,
GTA character.
Yeah, I mean, he's also he's CIA operative too. So that's,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This is.
I won't comment on that one yet. I don't know.
Yeah, this is a point I've made about Andrew Tate before, but like he's sort of the male equivalent of a sexual revolution, except instead of feminism.
Actually insightful. Yeah.
Yeah, instead of feminism, he's just
Maleism.
Maleism or whatever you want to call it. Like,
Well, it's 'cause all
maybe
these
it's chauvinism. I'm not sure, but it's basically the same idea.
It's the opposite
right?
of feminine. I think you're on the right
Yeah,
track.
it's basically the same idea. Like
masculinism,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, go with your base impulses and don't look for anything deeper than that. And I think that's the wrong way to go about it.
Quickly, Dr. Tetanus, the new meta, don't tread on me is less than, behold, I have given you authority to tread upon serpents and upon all the power of the enemy. Yeah, I mean, Andrew Tate does sort of give you
Power.
selling permission to be an asshole.
Andrew Tate also gamed the system too. He leveraged TikTok so much
Yes.
that you couldn't get away from him.
Yeah.
And that's how the game is played if you're trying to circumvent the gatekeepers.
But his message resonates so much with young people because I don't think anybody knows what masculinity really is anymore. My
Exactly.
age-
There's a
'cause
fight over who gets to decide, too.
we're very feminized as a generation, just overall. I mean, I see it everywhere. But it's like this generation is growing up in a world that's chaotic, very feminized, very progressive. There's men that can become women, women that can become men. And they're told that if you try to, boys being boys, like getting in fights at school is not okay. Calling out your teacher is not okay. Like all these sort of like masculine things, frats, men's clubs are all looked down upon, banned, silenced, like whatever has happened to them is differed by, what it is. But the whole overarching thing is just a suppression of masculinity. And at some point, they're going to break from that. And that's why they all went for Trump so hard, is because he is a
Definitely
very
part of it.
masculine, strong figure. And they're just craving that fight because all these people, these nerds, these like Karens are telling them what to do. And they're telling them, be gay, be a woman, don't be a man, be a nice little boy, be nice.
Yeah, you're demonized, too.
And what
Don't flirt with women. Don't try to, get married. Don't have kids. The world's going to end. They're being told all these things.
And it's your fault.
And yeah, exactly. And who's to blame is the straight, white Christian
And the
male.
ironic thing is that even though they're asking them to be like this, they don't even feminists don't even want them like this. Like these aren't desirable men.
Yeah, then they go, where'd all the attractive masculine men go?
Yeah,
exactly.
They all want the Gastons. They all want the Prince and Charmings. They all want Chads. And if you don't believe me, fire up Tinder, put up your pictures up as a Chad. You'll get 50 guerrillian matches in like an hour. Put yourself up as a normal person. It's maybe a little skinny, maybe a little short, and it's like you don't get anything.
Chuck,
I don't want it.
I saw you pointing at me, Chuck. Oh,
No, well, we'll talk later about
Experiments,
fellowship
have their
and
purpose.
But so I was obviously I'm older than all you guys. My dad was a World War II veteran, and I was surrounded by World War II veterans growing up. So I think about this all the time. You want to talk about men and masculinity and masculine role models, and the lie of the left is that let's put it this way. Men learn masculinity by growing up with a masculine role model and learning that over over your lifetime. And when you don't have those role models, you literally have men who are hardwired for this, but have no idea how to truly grow and become and access that without that guidance, without that community.
quickly, Circle Jerk 3cc. Tate is Muslim, ergo avoid at all costs.
Well, Andrew is Muslim. Tristan isn't.
That's actually true.
Now, are they both adherents?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, even
Taste that Muslim smoking those cigars and drinking that liquor.
Even a lot of self-proclaimed Muslims here in the West they're very liberal versions of Islam.
Well, I'll tell you what it is, and I just had this kind of thought up. We were talking about the left wanting to try to trans and gay everything. They're searching for a uniqueness that they can stand out without actually having to do anything. And there's a uniqueness that these same guys are after with success. Yes, they are trying to do something to actually provide for society, but I think that's what a lot of these people are after, is a uniqueness that attracts people just in different ways.
Yeah.
Well, it's part of it too is when you're growing up and you don't have that masculine role model and you don't have anybody to show you how to live life, and you're in the challenges of the world we live in today, you are desperate for anybody to give you guidance. You are absolutely desperate, and you will, if you find, like, whether it's Tate or whether it's Myron, I call them the ultra alphas, J Lore, whatever his name is, when all these guys, that at least points you in a direction, that at least gives you some sense of hope. And young men are gravitating towards that like a moth to a flame.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the end result of feminism. I mean, that's why I love transgenderism. I think it's like it is the. So somebody said to me in our Discord last night. They said they were trying to mock me, and they're like, "Oh, you're saying America sucks because of trans people?" And I was like, no, okay. But
It's what will bring us a renaissance, according to you.
Yeah.
It's rock bottom.
But I was like, but it made me think, I was like, transgenderism really is like an encompassing of like all the things that we talk about, like the problems and everything. Like, like feminism says men and women can be equal and the same, or equal equity, or whatever you want to call it. That's what transgenderism is. A man can be a woman can be a man. They can play in the same sports. They can do you in the same bathroom.
Well, my position on like transgenderism is that it's the ultimate out for the male undesirables and how they can accomplish.
I think it's confused gays. It's confused gays that are like they can't tell if they're gay or what they're into, and it's just like
it's in the book that I wrote, okay, and I got articles on my thing. All right, did you read that yet? So
not all of them.
All right, so. When you talk
Zeb,
about,
you need to read that gay article. That's about you.
When you talk about being in a post-Christian society, okay,
anti-Christian, I'd say.
And, well, it's anti-Christian. The word they're using today is
the
post-Christian.
same thing.
Yeah,
it's
right?
literally the same thing.
So what ends up happening is if you're gonna jettison any concept of God and creation and having created men and women, all right, So the question is then, how does gender arise? What's your theory of gender? What's your theory of human identity? How does it arise if you're not created? Mm-hmm. So today it's a concept of
social construct.
Everything is social construct, okay?
Yeah.
So it's social conditioning.
Right.
Which means if that's the case, then gender becomes whatever any community community in society determines and society is willing to accept.
Yeah.
So what this is more about saying we're going to reorder the American landscape, and we're going to make this the criteria for what all of human identity is. So that is blank slate social conditioning, and they're willing to impose that on America. And the consequence is that you're going to have to admit men into women's sports.
Yeah. And that's another thing that needs to be nipped in the bud, just blank slatism and social constructionism, because there's this stupid idea that because everything we understand is is socially constructed, that means the thing it's describing is moot, when it's absolutely not the case. And I think that's a major problem conservatives are not addressing. No, leftist framing of something is completely completely ludicrous, and you shouldn't acknowledge it.
Well, but see, here's and this is one of the reasons why I'm going to write this book and then I'm done. Okay, is that I spent years. Okay, I was invited for G.T. Thompson. Mm-hmm. Okay, Congressman G.T. Thompson.
Yep, I'm familiar.
I was invited about 6 years ago to speak on this issue at one of his spring legislative retreats, and I laid it out exactly what was going to happen before it happened. And talking about social conditioning, and that 99, you can talk about facts, that 99.5% of America, there's less than 0.5% of America is transgender. You know what? And I talked about this concept of social conditioning. Guess what conservatives and legislators wanted to do with it? jack shit.
Sounds about right.
They do not want to expend the emotional and intellectual capital to learn this to begin to argue against it.
Right.
And if they're not going to be willing to step into the fray like this, it is going to continue to move forward.
Well, that's just a common trend across all soft sciences. Is they know the outcome, they don't want to do the outcome, so they don't fund the thing to get there.
Mihai, I'm glad you couldn't make it tonight.
Well,
but you're still watching.
That reminds me. Did you hear me?
Answer the question, Jack. Why do you hate minorities?
Why are you dodging the question, Jack?
In our last video for Ciderhaus,
He's filibustering.
Listen to me because
Corey,
We got Corey Booker in the house.
you'll like my answer. You'll like my
but
answer.
a bigoted version.
Last week when we talked about the football player who was killed, I gave it a lot of thought, and after giving it much thought, I have a message that I would like to give my family, the chat, and everyone at this table.
Is it
If
an
I am killed by a black gentleman, I want you to make it about race. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Because it will 100% be a hate crime. Because I'm the least racist white man on earth. I'm not chasing black people around with a Klan hood, a noose, and calling them the N-word. I'm not doing that stuff. So the only reason I would be killed is if it was a hate crime.
I think Dave Chappelle once encapsulated this all very well with his gender. I won't play it because we'll get copyright struck, but he's basically talking about women. And he's like, like on my day-to-day, I'm walking around and like I just prefer, like I'm looking for a black woman to marry. I want to marry a black woman. I want to have black kids, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, but when it comes to having sex, my penis is a humanitarian.
Want to talk about women next? Is that what you're saying, John?
Well, here, I was going to say this. So it's 7:35. I know we got a little bit of a late start. We do have call-in set up.
Oh, let's go.
This is totally selfish motivation, but I would like to throw it to a quick break so I can go fucking rip a cigarette. I'm fiending
I got to take a piss anyway.
for a
You
fucking
can rip a
cigarette.
cig and I'll talk to chat. How about that?
You want? I mean, I can leave it live.
Me and Chuck can talk to chat.
You want me to put you and Chuck up and just
Let's go.
you guys rage? You want to come over here and produce quickly? The
It's
OG.
of rage, actually.
I'll keep your YouTube channel not banned.
You can ban it. I don't give a fuck anymore. The OGTLT, the transgender movement, started getting funding by the corporations after Occupy Wall Street, not to promote the fringe, but to undermine.
Well, no, not
the majority.
necessarily. The transgender movement.
Jack, take your pick. You
transgender-
going to carry this? You too?
Obviously. The transgender movement was funded off of Equal, if you remember that, the blue square with the yellow equal sign,
yeah.
which was equality. They were fighting
How do I
for gay
do that. We'll
rights,
leave it on this
whatever.
screen. How's that?
And so once they won that in the gay marriage courts, they had to transition because the money stopped coming in. And so transgender movement was just a product of winning gay marriage.
Thank you, though.
It was a part of that momentum. It was always there, and once they began to gain the momentum with it, then they've used the transgender issue because it's the perfect wedge issue. It is absolutely the perfect wedge issue to be able to break down, to begin to deconstruct gender in America, and they're defying us to step back and to really push back against them.
Well, the transgender movement is it was inevitable to start with, but the funding of it, like I said, came from the equal movement winning in gay marriage court. So once they won, they have no purpose as a organization anymore. And so the people running that and collecting money off of it have to have a purpose or a way to gain funding. And so that is what they did. They
need a new battle.
transitioned their organization into transgenderism.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's just, as somebody who's in like the gayest and transiest generation, like it's also like you hear that term trenders. Like it's a lot of people that like think about being trans or try to become trans because it's trendy. Is
There's a large part of that, yes.
And it's just so weird, but it's like, because I know a bunch of people like this, and it's always the thing that like nobody wants to say, but it's true, is that none of these people start off in normal circumstances or normal headspaces.
Right.
It never, like, you never find a trans person that's like perfectly normal. You know,
When were you molested as a child? That's the question.
It's that, or like fatherlessness, or
They got stuck
There's
in
a lot of
Tumblr.
association with
Yeah.
other mental illness in terms of the medications that they're on, depression.
Yeah, the
and things like
medications.
that.
That's a big thing too.
So there's a lot of other correlates with that.
Now, Chuck, you might want to jump in on this. I think Poppy was talking earlier about populism, because I made the comment that populism acknowledges the issues, but it doesn't give any solutions to the problems. Not real solutions, obviously.
Yeah, Academic Agent, the YouTuber, made a book on this. Like, he said that it disregards elite theory and how elites ultimately are the ones ensuring change happens. And very few over the course of history, the world's history, very few of it is done by the masses.
That's why we have to have our elites do things. That's why we have Trump. That's why we have Elon Musk. And they're powerful. If you don't have those people, you don't get anything done.
Well, that's true, but this is what I'm trying to, and this is kind of what I was saying earlier, and then I allowed my own point to get sidetracked, which was this. But what Americans have to understand, what conservative Americans have to understand, is they're going to have to get up and get involved in the fight. Is that no matter what Trump does, if you cannot get one piece of legislation through that thing, everything that he does in 4 years will get undone with a pen the minute the Democrats. So we're hoping that our elites are able to flip the script. They're not going to be able to.
Chuck, it sounds like you're arguing for authoritarianism or some type of dictatorship, or
No,
maybe even
I haven't, and you know that.
a Hamiltonian
No, you haven't
governorship.
even- you know that. What I've
I mean,
said
King
is-
Trump sounds pretty good to me.
I know, I'm messing with you, but
what has to happen is every American has to get up off their ass and say, I'm going to get involved in the fight, at least on the smallest level. This is what I said. I got an article on my website, and I tried to shop this to not only to the Center County GOP, but statewide. Are you ready for how absurd this is? So, the Center County GOP is starved for cash every year and help. So
always.
all right, always.
sounds about right.
Well, you know what? Every conservative county organization that county elections office who are funding the candidates and supporting the candidates that get elected, from school board all the way up to president. So I did this. I have basically a blue collar business. So I come home and I got change in my pocket. I put a red Solo cup on my kitchen counter, and I fired that change in the red Solo cup. If you don't pick the quarters out, you know how much money is in that cup when you go take it to the change machine at Giant? $30. Okay? Are you ready for this? Center County has 40,000 registered Republicans. Mm-hmm. If each one of those registered Republicans would fill one cup full of fucking change a year and donate it to this, do you know how much money that is? $1.2 million. Conservatives won't even save their spare change and give it to their candidate of choice or their local office that does everything they can to win their elections. If conservatives are unwilling to do that, then they get everything that's coming their way.
Well, you're arguing for collectivism that we just don't have. And I think it's almost by nature that we don't have it.
Well, it's because a lot of people that tend to be right wing are like this leave me alone type of personality, which I understand, but I'm like, guys, you gotta be involved in your civilization.
You have to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They're going to come for you.
Absolutely you do.
Like, okay, I'm going to attack the voters. So I door knocked in 2020. I was a staffer on the Trump campaign. So I was doing hundreds of doors, like every
Did you knock
day.
with Scott Pressler?
No,
I did that.
Why not?
No, okay. Yeah, well, he got more involved in 24, which was great. But yeah, I know. So I talk to all these people, and it's always like when you talk to the voters that are like, I would just say like sympathetic to the right. Like maybe they do vote for Trump, maybe they don't, but the ones that are like kind of sympathetic but end up saying like, they're not going to vote for Trump or they're not sure. It's always the laziest excuses in the book, and it's always the dumbest things. Like,
absolutely.
Oh, his tweets. It's like, get over it. You're about to lose civilization, and you're worried about tweets. Right. And then the ones that actually are like, oh yeah, I love me some Trump. Yeah. I'm like, all right. You want to sign up and knock some doors? You want to actually make some difference? And they're like, I'm busy. Okay,
here's a thought. Here's a thought on this. Knocking doors is not virtuous. Voting is.
Yeah.
And so the participation of voting is that virtue. And so they gain nothing from knocking doors, but they do for participating.
There's no instant gratification.
In the voting.
Yeah.
Right. And so they'll continue on this idea of everybody needs to vote, everybody needs to participate, when in the same vein they'll say everybody is underinformed at a minimum, if not worse.
And they love to flag wave. They love to do these little parades. And I'm like, that accomplishes nothing. It's virtue signaling.
Sean, you're reminding me firsthand of how much I hated, of how much I hate Nikki Haley voters.
Well, they want to do things without getting anything done.
Don't get me started.
Anger and being pissed about your world is not a solution.
Yeah.
And today, the contemporary virtue signaling for conservatives, I'm pissed, and it's like
I'm mad as hell.
I'm mad as hell, and I'm going to keep, but
but that gets clicks and drives money.
100%, but
Yeah.
it doesn't solve the problem.
Yeah.
The problem isn't going to be solved until people realize, Sean, I love what you said. Yeah, and this is what this book is about. You have to fight for your civilization. Your civilization is not guaranteed. The West is not guaranteed.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to fight for it, if you think that you can just get up, go to work, come home, and watch Fox News or watch Newsmax or whatever it is, and that this world is going to perpetuate itself, man, history's got a lesson for you.
Yeah.
It's not going to be good.
Yeah, Chuck, I think you just hit the nail on the head with the problem of career politicians and just professional activists, because they'll virtue signal about a problem, but they won't actually suggest like a serious solution, because that stops getting them elected, that stops bringing in money.
It does, and until and nothing changes until we're willing to primary these people. But that takes more work than the American conservative.
Well, I'm going to quote a fantastic philosopher here. He says, "Nothing changes if nothing changes." That's the great Theo Vaughn, if you don't know. Yeah. But that's exactly right. I mean, if you don't get up and do something, if you don't actually go do the thing and get something done instead of just doing a thing, something actually has to get done. Nothing's going to change.
Well, and it's kind of a hot take amongst conservative circles, but this is why I hate when I hear conservatives say, leave cities, get out of cities. I'm like, no, that is the heart of civilization.
That's sort of like saying homeschool your kids, because you're still abandoned. Like, yeah, I get it, public school sucks, but you're also just conceding valuable institutions to your enemies.
And we can take them over. We learned.
We
can do
had
it.
that debate about
we
2 months ago.
but Center County is what happened in this time around in Center County tells the tale, because for the last 2 cycles everybody was up in arms about what was happening in the schools. So you had Winford Bellefonte, you had Penns Valley, you had all these districts that got all of these conservatives to run to get on school board majorities. Okay, guess who's signing up for school board majority? Guess who's signing up to run for school board elections this fall? Nobody in Center County.
Yeah.
They don't have anybody coming through. And see what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, we're going to go charge hell with a bucket of water. 4 years later, it's, well, maybe Trump's in office and we don't have to worry about this stuff any longer. See what I mean?
And the reality is you're going to be digging your ass in your like shed, and they're going to be taxing you more.
Digging your ass in your shed.
Yeah.
On that note,
I'm not Googling that.
keep talking, gentlemen, but I'm going to throw the call-in number up on the screen.
Let's go.
Right there, 202-922-7770. Give it a call. You will be live on the air with us if you do. We won't say your name or anything like that. You can introduce yourself however you like, but we'll leave this up for maybe 30 minutes or so, maybe less. That's about how much we have to go until we're at 2 hours. So I didn't mean to cut you guys off. But we can answer one call at a time. You'll be put on hold if we're talking to somebody else. You can just hang out for a little bit.
Also, Sean, you might want to tell your boys to
My boys call it. Oh, I'm way ahead of you. Yeah, I'll send the number because we have some fun characters.
So absolutely anything relative to what we're talking about, or to Myron Gaines or Uncensored America, any specific questions for Zeb, for Chuck, for Sean, for Jack. Not for me. I'm not going to answer the questions. But 202-922-7770. We're also, Skype is closing down May 6th, so we're going to have to get a new number, I hate to say. But
You're using Skype? Oh, God.
Like closing down?
It was like $6.
Are they like Hooters
Use
closing
Discord.
down?
Yeah, Skype is done.
Yeah, it's because they have Teams now.
So I actually have a new number set up on Zoom, but I haven't integrated it into OBS yet. So anyway, I'm on the verge of blacking
Zoom
out.
pulled a little free market on them.
Well, I mean, Skype's always fucking sucked ass. I mean, what are you going to do? So anyway, that sounded like you guys were having a good talk. I wasn't really listening, but I was also not here. So
I guess if you want to talk about equity some more, I feel like the biggest problem with related to that is leftists like to use a Mott and Bailey, in that they try to present it in a reasonable way, because like oh, you want to make sure that you have as many opportunities for people who could make your company better. Like, let's say you're working. Yeah, so let's say
I try.
Let's say that
anything for the views.
Yeah, let's say that you're working
You'll
at
fall on that sword.
Let's say that you're working at a coding company.
Double entendre there.
Let's say that you're working at a coding company and you have a lot of crippled coders that can't get into the building. It makes sense to want to build ramps so they can get into your company.
We got to get these cripples in here to code.
However,
learn to code. Cripple.
What is this conversation?
However,
A real coder would just code a
let me
ramp.
finish. However, what they're advocating for is equality of outcome. So they want idiots that can't even code to be employed, so other employees can do their work for them, and that's what they mean by equity.
Equity is equality of outcome. It's comprehensive equality.
Yeah.
We must have an intimidating.
I hopefully will have a book.
We have an intimidating group of guys tonight. Normally the phone would be ringing off the hook by now. So
Jack, you should learn how to code.
I probably should. We all.
Chat, does this camera make me look fat? I'm just kidding.
yes, my eyeballs are doing the same thing though. To be fair.
Oh,
Boom.
Well,
He's taking it from
somebody in here
He's
has
taking it from all
glasses,
sides.
and it's not me.
Well, Sean, actually, I won't.
We haven't had an on-air fight yet in this studio.
Yeah. Well, Sean, I actually won't learn to code because I'm just gonna get my work outsourced by like someone from India.
yeah, the H-1Bs or Grok will make it for you, ChatGPT. You know, actually, to go back to the point about like cities, this is why I can bring some hot takes because like
have them.
We need to spice up there.
Heat up these takes.
I think California could finally elect a Republican governor for the first time since Schwarzenegger because of the LA fire.
You think Newsom's gonna flip? Is that what you're saying?
I think there's gonna be here's the problem. The stupid party is the only opposition party. And the stupid party will fumble the greatest chance they ever have, which is you have a governor who's clearly an idiot, who clearly has ruined his state, who mismanaged his state, which led to these fires, which people lost their literal homes, that they're probably not going to rebuild for like 10 years. You have a chance of a lifetime here to actually turn the state red. Trump's in office. The red wave is real across the country. I think if they put in a serious effort and have a great candidate, it could turn red. Because those fires, I don't know why there has been more talk since they've gone out, because all these people still lost their homes. Like, it's not just rich people. It's a lot of normal people that have lost so much, and it's not going to be rebuilt overnight because the permit process in California takes forever to get through. So, like, telling you can retake cities. Don't give up on, like, these are your centers of arts, culture, industries, economics. Like, LA is one of the biggest cities in America. It's one of the most important cities. And if you just abandon it, that's how you lose.
I think California's done, man. I think it's blue forever.
I don't think
I've talked to too many people that have just moved out because of it.
I know, and that's part of the problem.
And you can't refill it.
You know, what I'd like to actually see them do is split the state in half. Because Northern California.
Are you a Jefferson fan? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the state of Jefferson.
State of Jefferson?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I see, and I don't think we should do it here. I think we should do what we do with Florida. It's possible. Move there, take it over, stay there. It can be done. And I think now's the time to strike. And I think just conservatives don't stay and fight. And this is like not to get into a religious debate, but this is why I have so many splinterings of Christianity. It's like nobody just stayed in the church and actually tried to reform it. They all went off and did their own thing. And I think it's just not the way to do things. It never works out.
I definitely think we should make drastic changes to California because otherwise all the libs over there are going to go to other more conservative states and flip elections there.
Yeah, the same thing could happen to us. And like people write off California. But California, without California, you don't have America. Without New York, you don't have America. Without Florida now, you don't have America. These states are central to our civilization, whether you like it or not.
Well, me and Chuck basically had this, you could call it a debate discussion the other day about the Benedict option and the Boniface option, which is essentially what y'all are arguing, is the question of should we build a parallel society or should we go back and retake. Reconquista, the thing. And I think you have a little bit of both going on right now. It's going to be made a little bit easier with some of the legislation coming up.
But we tried this with social media. Like when everybody's getting banned, censored, we thought we could make this parallel economy with Gab and with Rumble and all these other things. None of it works. They're all small. They don't really take over. They have no cultural influence. Normies don't use it. What worked? Elon buying Twitter and making it X.
Exactly.
That's how you do it. You have to do a hostile takeover of things. You have to work within the system.
Elon needs to buy California. That's a good idea.
Yeah, let's go.
No calls, huh?
I'm telling my boys calling. My
call in.
one
Let me
friend's
call
gonna
in.
call in.
I'll call in.
My one friend said he will call in a minute. He's just busy eating, and
I'm kind of wondering if I have like Skype not set up properly, but I think I do. I think I tested it. It worked okay.
Well, there's actually one of the comments in there is that it says liberal birth rates are falling and it's the only hope. However, one of the possible ways to have a reset is, and it's probably not even, it's not in my lifetime and maybe not even in your lifetimes or to the tail end of your lifetimes, that if birth rates actually do fall that hard. Right now, do you hear this about North Korea? North Korea is proposed. They got 250,000 people in their armed forces. Their best projection is cutting their armed forces in half by 125,000 people. Within the next 20 years, their economy could just constrict by 25%. And if you do that, then you fundamentally reorder the landscape that you have to then. We can't even conceive in our country about contracting our economy by 25%. If you do that, it's going to force people. Everything we know fundamentally falls apart, or a large degree.
Well, I see somebody in the chat because I feel attacked. They named Apple, Disney, Microsoft, Amazon, Etch-a-Sketch, Mattel, Harley-Davidson. We're all starting suburban home garages. Yes, that's true, but where's Apple headquarters? California. Where's Disney headquarters? California. Where's Microsoft? Washington.
Hold on. Specifically Harley-Davidson.
Oh.
You remember what Reagan did for Harley-Davidson? Mm-hmm. He tariffed the crap out of motorcycles.
Oh, yeah,
because Harley-Davidson wasn't going to exist. The free market president
used
tariff motorcycles
That's right.
to retain American companies.
It's almost like tariff.
He's also the reason why California turned blue in the first place with mass amnesty.
Facts. Reagan wasn't that great. Facts. If LA was a sailing ship,
Reagan does deserve a little bit of hate, but
yeah, you have to weigh the positives and the negatives. Second term Reagan, like that, he started to lose his mind a bit. But first term Reagan was a goat, I would say. He was a pretty good example.
Let me
of
tell you what first
conservatism.
term. I was alive during first.
Yeah, I was
term.
gonna say, you're gonna have a better opinion than us.
man,
I was waiting for somebody to go, what the fuck are you talking
I
about?
graduated in
Jeff?"
high school in 1983, so I was alive during high school and college for Reagan. But I wrote an article that was rejected. I've had articles published on American Thinker and other places, but I wrote an article that was rejected, and I said that the predicament we're in today is because of the bad habits that we learned under Reagan, because during that time period, you had the country was still united on an American, a traditional American worldview, both Democrat and Republican, and it didn't matter if you had a Democrat elected to your school board, because there was no way in hell that they were going to ever have anything transgender or anything along those lines. But so what conservatives learned, what they felt was all they needed to do was get another president and take the House and the Senate, and they could sit on their ass like they did with Reagan and have this juggernaut reproduce the America that they wanted. And so they just checked out.
Yeah.
And every generation post-Reagan, people have just checked out, waiting for the next Trump.
Yeah, I agree. Like, Reaganism is dead, but not because conservatives are less conservative than they were back then, but because the time period is just completely different compared to when Reagan was president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also had the internet. Like, it's just sort of changed how we think. It's totally different.
Reaganism is dead, but conservatives still have the same mindset they had under Reagan, which is we don't need to get involved. We can vote and go home, and everything will take care of itself. That's the point that's been most detrimental to us.
Well, when you had Reagan, there was a much more cohesive center, and even less of a gap between the left and the right. These extremes didn't even exist. You have the Dixiecrats, the Blue Dog Democrats, all of these guys that are Republicans now. That work together. I mean, you talk about bipartisanship. Now we can't do bipartisanship anything unless it's a specific country. So,
which country is that? Okay.
I agree with you, but here's what people don't recognize, and this was part of the article, and this is part of what this is a theme of what I try to explain to people. I was alive then. You know who the Reagan Democrats were? They were the end of the Depression generation. Okay, the silent generation.
Yeah, the
they
older
were the World War II
Democrats,
generation, and they were the early boomers who were extremely conservative.
Proto-boomers.
Yes.
So all these people, it didn't matter whether you were Democrat or Republican, they all had that same worldview that Zeb had talked about. They all agreed on what it fundamentally meant to be an American. But guess what happened to them? They died. And the later boomers and their Gen X kids they were the ones who were far more progressive because they went through the university systems. So, you know, I mean, you still have Sean Hannity going, we're the Reagan Democrats.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, some of them are still around, and I can name Robin Talon from South Carolina is a former congressman. He was around when Reagan was in office.
Yeah, some of them are, but not enough to make any level of difference.
Yeah, and I've talked to him, and they're essentially Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Republicans. That's what they are.
Yeah, but there's not enough of them to have made a difference and made the swing like they did during Reagan.
So. Well, I think you see that effect with Trump, where a lot of people who
you had the mass turnover in '84, the election of '84, which almost all of Blue Dog Democrats or Dixie Democrats kind of lost their election into.
From William Maines, didn't Reagan shut down mental asylums?
Yes,
he did. Yes.
Welcome to homelessness. You don't get a mental asylum; you get the sidewalk.
Well, he just pulled funding from a lot of from all he did.
It's one of those toothpaste is out of the tube now thing.
Yeah,
you can't put it back.
Damn toothpaste.
You can't end up putting it back in.
Is it Crest whitening toothpaste?
Colgate.
Is it Colgate Plus? Do you guys hate it when I just fucking...
It's the one with the little minty...
cherry pick a word out of what you said and then make it up?
Dude, my tism picked it up too.
I just want to quickly say, I'll give you the audience, you chat, you people that none of us, at least I'll speak for myself. I don't like you, chat. And I'll give you... It's an inside joke. Come on, guys. Like 10 more minutes, maybe, tops. 202-922-7770, as far as I can tell.
There you go.
There it is.
Hello?
610, you are on the air with Ciderhaus Live. How
I know
you doing?
who this is.
Good evening. This is Luca Moraldi, the OG president of the Penn State chapter of Uncensored America.
Luca, what's going on? Your name is on our wall here in Studio Center. What's your question?
I don't know if I have a question. We were getting to the meat and bones of the best conversation in, I would say, right-wing politics, which Zeb's talking about, the toothpaste is out of the tube. I don't think it is just yet, but I think, it kind of goes with the Reagan question as well, which is that I think so many of the people who have power at the moment still are within the Reagan mindset. And it's like, okay, everybody, all of these senators like to talk about the mandate, and I agree, there's a mandate. Then use it. Strike the iron while it's hot. Overturn the filibuster. You have Cory Booker over here talking for 25 hours. You guys should have just shut it down, changed the rules on the spot, and, just started legislating your way. I think that's, the ultimate frustration and what will hold, conservatives from ever taking any real power. When Democrats had a 51 to 49 majority a few years back, the only thing that stopped the filibuster was 2 senators. And now that Republicans have a 3-senator advantage, it's like more than 50% of the party doesn't want to overturn the filibuster. And I guess the question is, how the hell do we fix that?
Well, we don't, and this is the issue with this Big Tent Reaganite party. He created this Big Tent party, and we have to live with the consequences. The consequences are that we have libertarians in the party that don't want to wield power, and they're a large portion of this party where you have some conservatives that are willing to wield power, but not enough to actually do anything. And so I think if the party itself has to refine itself down to a central idea and move forward narrowly rather than this big tent push, because there is no cohesion in the party itself.
Well, and I think the second problem with Republicans at the moment is that they just don't realize that the Democrats don't have ideas. That's the problem. They're like still within this mindset of the Reagan years where it was like, an interesting debate about industrial policy and, immigration policy and all this. They don't have ideas anymore. It's like you try explaining them like supply and demand of labor and, how that, their stances with unions don't match up with their stance on open borders. It's like a John Doyle video this week. He said, it's like, I'm tired of like waiting on these people to be consistent because they don't have ideas.
Are you calling them stupid? Because that's what it sounds like.
I no, I think they just have a destructive worldview. I think they're. I mean, I wouldn't trust these people to like run a power grid or anything. So, yeah, maybe I am calling them stupid, but like
Luca, you've called them stupid to me. You can tell the whole world what you really feel. Go off, King.
You don't want them to fly your plane or steer your ship into a bridge.
I mean, these are people who cannot see. It's like with the masculinity femininity discussion that you were having earlier about toxic masculinity. It's like ask somebody on the left, even like a liberal, what masculinity is, and it's either like they don't give an answer because they'll be like, oh well, men decide what masculinity is, or like it's like some very very vague umbrella term, or it's like completely effeminized. It's like promoting some like video of some like dad painting his daughter's nails, and it's like, this is what a real dad looks like. It's like I guess, but like, is that it? Like, these people don't know because it's And I will say I'm a residential young man raised by a single mother, and these people think that I got the same upbringing as somebody who grew up in a mother-father household, and that upbringing would be the same in a 3-parent household or a 2-man household or a 2-mother household. They don't care. They think that everything is just some massive blob. They don't have ideas. They don't recognize differences between things. So I think the biggest problem going into the future is that we just have to not engage in the intellectual debate with them anymore. Yeah. It just has to be a matter of forcing will.
Yeah, and Luca, it isn't that they don't recognize it; it's that they won't recognize it. Like their ideology prevents them.
They're that ideologically driven. I think though that you have to have the intellectual debate. It is not necessarily with the left, but it's with those people in the center or those people who recognize the failure of the left's ideology. But you have to have the intellectual debate because you're going to have to figure out how you're going to keep the people in the center that came to the party to put Trump in office, how you're going to keep them. Because, you could talk about that mandate, but, as one article I had on an American Thinker that said he came within 240,000 votes of losing the White House. And people don't realize that. That election was far closer than anybody wants to believe.
Well, if we fix the fraud, then we have another discussion.
That becomes another discussion.
I don't know. I think like we're so obsessed with like, Thank
you, Dr. Tennis. Yeah, Luke, are you done with all this? You're just saying I ain't engaging in debate with people who always argue in bad faith? Is it that simple?
Sounds like he's arguing.
It's not bad faith though. That's the problem. They don't have ideas.
Yeah.
You see it in everything at the moment.
So I would disagree with you.
They're burning electrical vehicles. They're basically. They're all talking about the stock market.
That's a good point.
These are the Occupy Wall Street people. Like these people don't have ideas. They don't care.
Yeah, what he's saying, because we were actually talking about with the Tesla terrorists, a week ago, is that like these people do not you can't understate that they don't believe in anything. It's all reactionary. They went from saying Elon should be president to burning his cars and saying that we should tank Tesla stock. Okay. They don't believe in anything, or like it's just like they don't have anything that they.
What are they human? Like what's going on?
I'll bring it even really local there to central Pennsylvania.
Let's go.
All right.
Let's go.
I remember back in the fall, in the winter, there was a big protest by the Carpenters Union up there because they were alleging that Nittany Hospital up there was giving a $350 million project to quote non-local. Wage earners that were earning lower wages than their union. And it's like, there goes I remember like there were a lot of like local Democrat committees like promoting this story saying like, oh, this is messed up. And then like the next post is like, Trump is threatening to deport people like that are undermining American wages. It's like these people don't see a worldview that lines up. It's not. I think that's the problem with saying that they're ideologically driven. I don't know if there's an ideology there outside of getting their revenge against, the oppressors, the white dudes, the normal people with kids and, who cling to their Bibles and their guns and whatnot.
Yeah, and you're also seeing this with the tariff outrage, or fake tariff outrage, I would say, because they're acting as though they are libertarians and that they're always against taxation when they're not. They think that taxation is a great equalizer. It holds the rich accountable, and it's just so weird because they were telling us all throughout the election cycle that we're the party, Trump represents the rich, Trump supporters are going against their interests and because they're unconsciously supporting rich people. I'm looking at reports right now saying that the richest people are losing billions of dollars, and they aren't leftists are now telling me that that's bad. And I'm just seriously supposed to believe that they're going to be consistent on anything whatsoever. So, yeah, I totally get that, Luca.
Chuck, did you have a thought there?
They actually have a very, very well-defined ideological position. It's just very...
Fucking circle.
No, it is.
No, I'm laughing at the suit because we have a policy, Chuck, where we always try to read out the super chats when they pop up.
Oh, go ahead.
But they're always shit like this. Circle Jerk 3cc, my wife wants to be the breadcrumbs on Zeb's stash.
And the super chat from Dr. Tenicus, I think it was. Tetanus. We will not argue with these people, Luca.
Yeah, that was a great one.
It's the same position that Sam Hyde kind of espoused in one of his recent ones.
He sure did.
I'm not going to argue with an Indian about what an American is. It's the same concept that Luca's arguing for, but I would disagree that they don't have ideas. They, as a people, as a group, don't have ideas, but there are leaders that are bad faith that do have ideas, and they are sheep, just like conservatives and libertarians.
They're like an ant colony.
But let me just react again.
I just wanted to hear what Chuck had to say.
Yeah. We all do.
Super chat did it.
They have a very well-defined ideological position. It is basically moral and intellectual antimatter to everything that you and I believe. And so it seems very foreign to us. What they're doing right now is they were caught so off guard by, number one, Trump's win, and number two, that Trump just went in and said, I'm doing everything by fiat right now, by executive order. So what I really see them doing at the moment is they're just lashing out and trying to gain whatever political or social capital they can within their base or anybody that will listen in a very haphazard way. They don't care right now if they're making any sense. They're just reactionary. So if they're going to now attack Elon, they're going to attack Elon. If they're going to try to make whatever hay they can off of the tariffs and the impact it has on the market, they're going to do that. They're just taking every opportunity they can to cause as much havoc they can. And if it looks like a patchwork quilt, so be it.
2 cents. Plick said libertarian equals sheep, ? And then said nonsense. The idea that libertarians are sheep isn't necessarily directed at libertarians. It's just directed at the general population. That's just what people do. They find a shepherd and they follow him. This is what you see about Trump. This is what you see about the entire leftists. Yep. This is just general nature of human beings that are the vast majority of them are followers, and they want to find somebody that'll lead. And it's the same concept with these progressives. They have these bad faith leaders, if you will, that they get orders from, and then they just follow them.
They're the major issue with libertarian ideology, and to be fair, a lot of libertarians like NCAPs are are self-aware of this, but a lot of libertarian ideology, its main fault is that they fail to
It's not in the real world.
They fail to acknowledge that they are entirely willing to allow for a dysfunctional society if people consent to it.
They have no standards. They have no belief in just we have to hold people accountable. It's just, you do whatever you want to your body. It's like, no, that's dumb.
Yeah.
You know, your society falls
I think
apart.
that's the opposite side of the coin, where that is like way too ideologically driven. It's like the left and the liberals are like no ideology. It's just like
and they're too
anything
much.
goes. And it's like libertarians. It's like, sell crack to 4-year-olds. It's all right. It's like, no, I think there needs to be like some middle ground there.
Can I ask Luca a question, or do we want to stick on this topic? Because I have a question.
Yeah, we got a few minutes left. Go for it.
Okay, since you were the first president of UA at Penn State, Luca, because I haven't had a chance talking about it, so I'm using John's words show for a chance. What do you think about the nonsense Penn State's been throwing us with the Myron event? I gotta know, because I know it's gonna get you fired up.
Oh, I mean, I'm just used to it at this point. Like, dealing with the bureaucracy of Penn State, it's like you get, like, Neely Ben DePuti's going to, like, come out in, like, 2 days' time and be like, well, it was a wild night on Monday, and we must do the free speech again another time. But it's like, you guys don't care. You guys send the same email every time about, we cannot do this location because it doesn't have a sufficient egress. It's copy and pasted email from every single event we do. I'd love to FOIA those emails, because I swear it's just going to show that they send out a copy cutter.
It would be a
every time.
shame if we did that.
These people are, it's again, they don't have an ideology at Penn State either, other than like keeping everybody drunk, watching the football, watching the wrestling,
Welcome
and
to
give
college.
us another $40,000 a fucking semester. Like, this isn't a learning institution. That's a cult.
So Penn State's a cult base. I agree. It's funny because I'll talk you something off air, but Alex got an email, and it's the same email that I was showing you the other day. So when you talk about copy paste, like, it literally is copy paste. And we, like you said, we've gone through this before, but like, this one's pretty. They did some stuff this time they might get in trouble for. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, Luca, awesome phone call. Thank you for calling in. Truly, are you going to be here tomorrow, or are you out of town?
I am sadly not going to be there, but I will be watching on live stream.
He's a wage
as
slave.
Everybody should, if you can.
All right, I'll give you this one chance. What do you want me to do?
Just troll the SASV people there.
All
I
right.
mean, they deserve all the mockery in the world. These are people, again, who couldn't run a power grid. They don't understand how the world works.
They couldn't carry a tune. Just save their
lives.
lives.
Get a frappuccino at their Starbucks job, and that's about it. So, yeah.
Message received.
Enough,
I'll do my
and
best.
Troll them to the best of your ability.
John, you gotta tell Myron, if he was a real man, he'll fight you.
I probably will do something like that, but
you got to dress up in one of those older ads you used to.
Oh yeah,
Hunter ads.
All right, well, I'm gonna hang up on Luca here as we're kind of at the end of the show. So, but that was honestly a fantastic phone call.
We
Good
love
shout out
Luca,
to Uncensored
Patriot.
America. Luca, thank you for calling in. Take it easy. He might have already hung up. He did. Okay, perfect.
Sorry, I cut him off in the end.
No, you're good. You're good. That actually kind of wraps it up. So we're pretty much at 2 hours right now. And I think it's kind of a natural stopping point in the discussion. So I'll make the circle around one more time. Gentlemen, please let people know who you are, where they can find you, what you do, sort of thing. Starting with Zeb Boykin.
I am Zeb Boykin. I do a little bit of commentary on this YouTube platform that we are on right now. My name is Zeb Boykin on YouTube and X, if you're right below. I got a couple hot takes over there, so be careful if you look at that one.
From South Carolina.
From South Carolina, it took
Case
about a
you couldn't
9-hour drive to get up here today. Just a little 2 hour.
9-hour drove and then just jumped on the stream with a handful of scotch.
Gotta do what we gotta do,
respect
man.
it. Chuck Mason, who are you? Where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube, Chuck Mason. You can find me at Chuck Mason1 on X. You can also go to my website and read some of my articles and find my book is there and other things. That is chuckmason.net.
Check out Chuck Mason making some great content. Not an accident. Jack Kentner.
What's up, guys? I have a channel dedicated to movie reviews. It's called Kinoflex. I'm going to try and get a video uploaded by tomorrow. Please go over there and keep your eyes open. Thank you.
Sean Simanko, founder of Uncensored America, and the reason we are talking about this show tomorrow. Sean.
At Sean Semanko on Instagram and X, at Uncensored America on Instagram, now up to 15,000 followers. I love Instagram. Yeah, I used to hate Instagram. Now I love
Now you're loving
it.
it?
Now I love it. And then at Uncensored America on YouTube. Help us get to 100,000. Help this guy get up to 300,000. You're over like 200,000, right?
On YouTube?
Yeah.
175.
Get him to 200,000. Get to 100,000. Get these guys up to. Do it.
The event tomorrow, you can watch it streaming on Uncensored America's YouTube channel. Also,
YouTube channel, uncensoredamerica.us/live as well. Yeah, please check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like, it's just good, Aaron. It's going to be a good time.
We will all be there. It will indeed be a good time. You may want to tune in to see how I get myself arrested. We'll see.
Let's
See
go.
what happens. But I will be there tomorrow. Until then, my name is John Ward. Until next time, remember, chat, that you are a world champion. Chat! Don't let your memes be dreams. Where's the button? Where is the button? There it is. Close enough. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you on more Ciderhaus. We'll see you on more John Ward. Uncensored America.us. Myron Gaines coming up tomorrow. We'll talk to you after that. Take it easy.